Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to remind everyone some Canadian history. In 1988, Preston Manning ran his Reform Party, and he got about 300,000 votes, 2% of the vote, 2.09%, and he got 0 seats. In 1993, Preston Manning had 2.5 million votes, had 18.69% of the vote, and got 52 seats. And in 1997, became the official opposition with about 2.5 million votes and 19% and 60 seats. So Canadian politics isn't one cycle. Canadian politics isn't one election, and it's not even a seat in the House of Commons, as illustrated in our recent past, in our recent history. Now, the electoral map looks a little bit different, but this isn't all that different from back then. And the major difference is social media and the ability to connect with people faster and get the message out. All of that said, it takes time to build a party, and it takes time to build the inroads. I mean, one thing that was not looked at very closely by myself and by other pundits, etc., and something that needs to be taken into consideration is the history of a party matters, right? And I always talk about how much an advantage the incumbent has. The incumbent is the person who's currently occupying the seat, right? So in an election, the incumbent has an advantage. They have 4 years of doing the job, and that's essentially campaigning. And if they do an okay job, a passable job, they're not completely incompetent, then they're usually making connections with people, right? Forming relationships, saying, yeah, I remember that time I helped you. I remember that time you called me and I called you back, right? That's campaigning, but that's doing a good job too, right? So when you are inhabiting the job, you are making connections with your constituents. That matters. People vote for the same party. Oftentimes people vote without thinking much about it, right? Oh yeah, things are fine, and most of the time it's on the economy. It's on jobs and ability to find a job, et cetera, et cetera. And most people are too busy to really look into the politics of it. Some people say, I don't know how you make a video every day. I can't even watch what you produce. And that's okay. That's fine. That happens, right? I do this because I really enjoy looking at these things and talking about these things. But a lot of people would just rather things run themselves without their input. And that's the system we live in currently, right? People can do that. People can check out. So people, by and large, will say they're engaged, watch a little bit of CBC, confirm what they already believe, and go vote Liberal or go vote Conservative, right? So until you make the inroads, until you've been to the old age homes, until you've been to the schools, until people know the party and the people in the party in the community, they're going to do what they always did. It takes time. It takes a few cycles. And then maybe opposition, right? It happened for Preston Manning. It happened also for NDP Toss Mulcair. He was the official opposition, right? He was the official opposition for the NDP the first time. That was their best showing. 95 seats got the official opposition in 2011. 95 seats fell to 44 seats in 2015, and Toss Mulcair took the brunt of that. And the party chewed him up and spit him out because of it. How dare he lose all those seats? Couldn't they beat Justin Trudeau? We need a better leader in the NDP. And this is a Globe and Mail article going back to 2016, updated in 2018, but I just wanted to show you the seats. The New Democrats entered the 11-week election campaign in August as frontrunners in a tight race. This is 2015, with the most polls giving them a slim lead over the Liberals and the Conservatives. In mid-September, the parties were in a three-way tie, but starting about September 20th, the NDP began to fall behind. When the votes were counted, the party had dropped from 95 seats at dissolution in the House of Commons to 44. So Toss Mulcair presided over the halving, basically, of the NDP. And then so did Jagmeet Singh. Here's Jagmeet Singh's numbers. NDP in 2015, 44 seats, 20% of the vote share total. NDP in 2019, 20 seats, 15%. Actually, I think it's 24. According to this, it's 24. Yeah, so 24 seats. So excuse the inaccurate meme. 24 seats, 15% of the vote share. He's an amazing leader, and he ran a wonderful, inspiring campaign. No, I disagree. But it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, do you go on a leadership hunt now? Do you, if Justin Trudeau says no to a coalition? Because Justin Trudeau says no to a coalition. Here's the National Post. It says, Trudeau says new cabinet to be sworn in on November 20th. No plans for any type of coalition. Oh, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he will unveil a new gender-balanced cabinet on November 20th and is vowing to work with opposition parties in his first public comments since election night, when voters handed the Liberals a minority mandate. However, Trudeau, who held his first news conference Wednesday in Ottawa since Monday's trip to the polls, is unequivocally ruling out any possibility of a coalition, formal or informal, with his political rivals in the House of Commons. He also vowed to find a way to ensure that Alberta and Saskatchewan have a voice in cabinet after the Liberals didn't earn a seat in either province. He's the Prime Minister. He can appoint anybody he wants to cabinet. Anyway, that's an interesting thing. So here is the way the seats fall. Mr. Trudeau is saying no to a coalition or even any informal agreements. Now, I'll explain this. Basically, Justin Trudeau, during the throne speech, needs to gain the confidence of the House. That means enough votes, 170 votes, to keep the government going, right? Anytime that there's a confidence vote, and every budget is a confidence vote, the government needs to get 170 votes to keep confidence in the House. If there's not 170 votes, then an election is called. A snap election is called. And the reason for that is if the House doesn't have confidence in the party ruling, then they need to dissolve it and have a party that the House trusts or has confidence in. So there's two pathways, and I just thought about this on my way home yesterday. There's two pathways for Justin Trudeau to gain his confidence. Number one is, the Bloc Québécois. Justin Trudeau is a very Quebec-centric prime minister and has been for his entire tenure, despite the fact that he has a very special relationship with Vancouver. He often talks about being a proud Quebecois, et cetera, and he'll cite that anytime. And he's fluent in French, speaks it very well, and his riding is Papineau, which is in Quebec. So he's a Quebec prime minister. So he can tap the Bloc, despite the fact that the Bloc is usually politically aligned with the Conservatives. He can promise the Bloc quite a lot for maybe autonomy for Quebec or just for Quebec. And while that makes him popular in his riding, popular in Quebec, and working with Blanchette will ensure at least a few votes will come his way. And again, the New Democrats are natural allies with the Liberals. So unless Trudeau is doing something way out of line, then it's presumable that the New Democrats, the NDP, won't want to bring down the government, because that won't be seen as a popular choice, especially if it's in the first throne speech or the first budget. And the reason for that is, well, if you run another election right after this election, like right after the one that was just run, probably you're going to get the same result. So it would be very unpopular with the majority of people watching this. They would roll their eyes and not want the election signs coming back out, et cetera, right? And right or wrong, that's a lot of people who feel that way. And in situations like that, correctness comes second after feelings, right? People don't want an election right away. So Justin Trudeau's banking on the idea that people are not going to bring down the government on a throne speech, especially a throne speech that basically is, we're going to stay the course and do what we have been doing, and that's it, essentially. And that's what I'm betting this throne speech will be on. So November 20th, look for a cabinet to be assigned as a gender-balanced cabinet. And I mean, I don't like this, because shouldn't the ability to do the job and competency come before genitals? No. What world do we live in where that is true? I don't understand how people can be so progressive and yet so short-sighted to not understand that that's another type of discrimination. Oh, sorry, we've got enough men. Oh, sorry, we've got enough women. Right? It seems ridiculous. Have the best person for the job, period. And yes, there are a lot of women who were elected. There were a lot of people who elected women. That's wonderful. Put the best people in the job, not, oh, well, we need more women now, so I'm sorry, you've got the wrong genitals. But if you had the right genitals, you'd get the job. It's so weird, right? Sorry about that skin color. If you had the right skin color, you'd get the job. Discrimination. It's just discrimination with another hat. Makes no sense to me. And people celebrate this garbage. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so we're going to talk next about we're going to talk next about the Hamilton event that had an arrest right after the election. How convenient, eh? Oh, and we're going to talk about Trans Mountain and the history of Trans Mountain pipelines. But in keeping with the new format. That's it for this part of the show, and it's 10 minutes. That's longer than I thought. Okay, 10 minutes. Sorry about that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. We'd love you to join the conversation, and well, have a wonderful, wonderful day.